Okay, quick music disclaimer here. I do not own the rights to this music, which belongs to the rightful owner, who is the intoxicating mind of Dr. Frankenstein. So he made my intro and my outro, and I hope you guys enjoy. Check them out on Spotify and YouTube, and no copyright infringement is intended. Have a good day.
A clear choice of good versus evil, of right versus wrong.
Twisted Tales.
Welcome back to Twisted Tales, folks. Appreciate all you tuning back in. Now, this tale's going to be a viewer requested from my good friend Stephanie. So it's an interesting case, and it'll be a United States Twisted Tale. And, you know, it's pretty cool to be given the opportunity to give you guys stuff that you guys want to hear, instead of me just rambling on about stories that I find. And if there's anything you want me to do, like, email me. My link's in the attachments there. So, like, I have episode lists from you guys, and, like, some for myself, right? And I appreciate you guys helping me with this, and I hope I keep you guys entertained. And, like, you know, because I just really hope that you guys enjoy this shit. So that's why I just keep doing it. Now I'm going to break into this tale here. So this will be the disappearance of Marjorie West, a 4-year-old little girl who went missing from McKean County, Pennsylvania. Now, Marjorie was born in Bradford, Pennsylvania. Her parents were Shirley and Celia West. She also had a sister and brother, Dorothy and Alan. And her father, Shirley, worked at Kendall Refining as an assistant engineer. Her disappearance was huge and fairly heavily covered, locally and nationally. Now, it's still unsolved to this day, and people have called this the Great Unsolved Mystery of the Missing. So she's been missing since May 8th, 1938. So this case is like 85 years old. But it's not the oldest missing persons case in the United States, but it's pretty damn close. So that title goes to Marvin Allen Clark. His missing person case has been 97 years. Now, Marjorie was last seen wearing a blue dress, a navy blue mid-length coat with the collar edged in pink, also a red Shirley Temple-like hat, and patent leather shoes. Her characteristics were red hair, blue eyes, freckles, and she also spoke with a southern accent, and she was the youngest of her siblings. Now, the day went on. The family went to attend a church service on Mother's Day. This was May 8th, 1938, in Bradford, Pennsylvania. So they took a drive to White Gravel, Pennsylvania area for an outdoor lunch, like a picnic. So this is about a 40-minute drive from Bradford. Now, driving south along U.S. Route 219, following an old railroad from Cluster City to Marshburg, Pennsylvania, the West family entered the White Gravel area from Chapel Fork Road in McKean County. Now, Marjorie was picking wildflowers with her older sister, Dorothy. Dorothy remembers her parents warning them from walking around a huge boulder, or like kind of playing around a huge boulder, because there was like actually a chance of rattlesnakes near the rocks. Now, her father and brother checked the area prior, and they didn't see any around. Now, around 3 p.m., Dorothy had left her sister Marjorie all alone because she wanted to go talk to her mother about something. And when she returned, Marjorie was gone. And, like, the family looked all around. Her mother called police, and when they arrived, witnesses had reported seeing 2 vehicles drive past the West family's picnic site prior to her disappearance. Authorities later found the cars, and they identified the owners of the vehicles, but they concluded that neither car owner was involved in the girl's disappearance. Now, the news of the missing girl spread far and wide, and like hundreds of people searched for her throughout the countryside. This case gained widespread popularity, and people were wondering if she just, succumbed to the exposure out in the woods. There's some hot days and whatnot, right? So searchers looked everywhere. Eventually, they stumbled upon what appeared to be like a freshly dug grave. Now, this was located deep in the woods, so they dug it up, and it ended up being a barrel of wine and some scrap lace. So they thought it was part of, the lace was part of the little girl's clothes, but the parents said that she didn't have any lace on her clothing, and there were no footprints of hers located anywhere in the area. So I'm thinking, maybe somebody snatched her up right quick and threw her in a vehicle and took off. I mean, that's what I'm thinking. But a taxi driver in Thomas, West Virginia, claimed that he saw a crying girl matching Marjorie's description, and she was wearing similar clothes and riding in a green sedan. Now, the man looked to be in his 30s, and this was around 11:38 p.m. on the night of her disappearance. The taxi driver spoke to the man, and he kind of mentioned that the girl was his daughter. So we asked him where the nearest hotel was, and the cab driver directed him to the one across the street. Now, he left the child alone in the car and went inside to book a room, but there was no vacancies. And upon returning, the man asked the cabbie where the nearest liquor store was, and he instructed him it was down the road a little ways. So the cab driver a few days later identified Marjorie as the man's passenger, and the unidentified man was never seen again until a few days later at a gas station he was fueling up. This was outside Thomas, West Virginia, and the attendant recalled seeing a bundle wrapped in a gray blanket in the back seat. So whether anything happened to her or who this guy was still remains a secret to this day. Nobody knew who this guy was. But investigators on the case figured out the travel time along the route. It was US Route 219 between the White Gravel area and Thomas, West Virginia. So this was about 8 hours. So if she was abducted around 3 p.m., they would have arrived in Thomas by 11:30 p.m. But authorities were still unable to find her. So speculation rose that maybe she was taken to Canada by other family members, or that she fell down in an abandoned oil well near the White Gravel area. Others speculate that she was abducted and taken somewhere in the south, or southwestern United States. There's also speculation that points towards the Tennessee Children's Home near Memphis, Tennessee. Memphis, Tennessee, sorry. Now, the Children's Home had been run by Georgia Tan, and she kind of placed high-risk children in foster homes, but police learned that Tan had kidnapped over 1,200 young children and rehomed them in the years from 1932 right through to 1951. And lots of these victims were abducted from the states bordering Texas, and Tan placed most of the children with childless families in New York City, New York, and Los Angeles, California. And so far, nobody's been implicated in her disappearance. And, missing children's cases are never easy. And it's always terrible when they go missing because, we wish for that happy ending. But it sometimes doesn't always work out that way. And the Marjorie West case was decades before, mass media coverage. And there were lots of terrified parents back then, especially, from vagrants that were, hopping train to train, city to city, town to town, shit like that. And it's pretty much the same today. There's always going to be dangers. But, you just gotta do the whole stranger danger thing, and hopefully kids listen to you and they follow your orders so shit like this doesn't happen. Because, everything can happen in a blink of an eye. So, when police couldn't find her that Sunday afternoon, about 200 men joined the search with them. And this included, people from, moose and elk lodges. And when the darkness kind of set in that was going into night, oil field workers brought their headlights and every flashlight that they had. But once the rain started coming in about 1 a.m., they slowed down the search. But by Monday, the search party was at 500 people. Now, they looked through, the streams, and they actually stood 25 yards apart in a line that was about a mile long. So this covered 4 square miles. And police also interviewed, motorists across the area, and they did that for 300 square miles. They interviewed a lot of people, vehicles passing by, everything. And Tuesday, May 10th, police brought in bloodhounds from up New York State. Newspaper articles read that the dogs followed her trail half a mile up to a mountain, and this led to a cabin with the doors nailed shut, but nothing was found on the search of the cabin. So the dogs kind of searched along the roadside that led alongside the clearing. Searchers also found a crushed bouquet of violets that were picked for the mother, Celia, lying on the ground located by the rock where the girls were playing at. Now, Wednesday afternoon, the town of Bradford, their mayor, Hugh Ryan, made a plea for volunteers to help. He said he would need about 1,000 people to help with the search. So, a little after, 2,500 people showed up instead. Now, at 5:30 a.m., surveyors kind of mapped out the area, and they searched while standing shoulder to shoulder, as they did before. And they did this for several kilometers. Miles, I guess, because I'm in the States now for this one. So, U.S. episode and all, right? And even refinery workers were rubbing elbows with professional men. Women were making coffee for everyone, and they prepared it in wash boilers for hot laundry. I mean, that's how many people were searching. They try to keep them going, feed them, give them drinks, to keep up with the search. So by the end of the week, the search for little Marjorie covered 35 square miles. So, if my Canadian math serves me correct, 35 square miles equals 40 kilometers roughly in Canada. Now, engineers have pumped out a muddy well, and others kind of tracked bears, because bears were believed to carry off little kids in that age. Or, well, I guess they still do now, but, they had to explore every option, right? And the father, Shirley, didn't even leave the forest for a week. And police put up posters describing Marjorie. Her mother, Celia, actually stayed at home just so she wouldn't miss a call about the search. And police think that the disappearance was started by a little game of hide and seek, which Marjorie loved to play. So the search kind of started to wind down here and there. Everybody looked for her, and nobody could find anything. But a detail of 4 police kind of combed the area for 5 months. And some newspapers that covered the disappearance, they tried linking this case to one back in 1910. This was April 16th. So this was where a couple of boys went fishing near Lamont, Pennsylvania, when they kind of stumbled upon a wild man in the woods, and the boys took off quickly. Everybody ran, and when they stopped ahead to gather their breath and everything, they noticed that one of the group was missing. But newspapers and police found nothing on the man in the woods or the missing kid. And there was also a strange happening when some other boys from the town of Ludlow, Massachusetts, went fishing. So they were walking home, and one of the boys looked back and noticed that their friend they were walking with vanished. He was gone. And nobody could find anything on that kid either. But about 13 days after the disappearance, a mail carrier had found a note on the train tracks in the area that said, "Will return boy for $10,000. And it just seems they try to explore every option to try to solve the case of the missing girl. And if Marjorie was abducted, it most likely would have been for profit, because this was during the Great Depression, and kidnappings were becoming very popular, and it was an easy way to make money. And abductions increased with the use of automobiles as well. And because they led to, like, a greater highway driving and everything, right? Like, they could get away fast. The state police investigation, this went on and off for over 6 years, and most of the family members or closest relatives had went to their graves, believing that the little girl was alive. And the Marjorie West case, like any other disappearance of this time, definitely had a ripple effect on the families. Like, even like when people talk to senior citizens today about how it was back in the day, like, they said that their parents became way more overprotective after the Lindbergh case, like the missing Lindbergh baby case. Now, and Marjorie's was similar to this. Like, you just gotta tell kids, like, stranger danger. And this should be drilled into kids' heads so, like, nothing serious can happen. And maybe this shit can be prevented. Who knows? But that might help. And it just sucks when people go missing, because you don't know what happened. And it's just a sad state of affairs, and this girl was never found. And her parents actually split up in 1953. And it's a shame the little girl was never found. And, like, some just hope that she was with a nice family. All these years, nobody has any idea where she went, what happened, or anything. And, like, this is one hell of a cold case. Some do believe she's, like, still alive after all these years, but she'd definitely be a lot older. Like, this case is 85 years old. And it's still cold, and it's just terrible that she was never found. I mean, it's just a sad state of affairs. Like, missing cases are never easy to cover, and they really, they mess with my mind when I try to research them and do everything right, but it takes a few days to get over shit. But I hope you guys enjoyed this little tale I have here, and, I hope it's up to your standards there, Steph. So, thanks for tuning in to Twisted Tales, guys, and that's all I got. I hope you guys take care. I'll see you here in a couple days.
Twisted Tales.